Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all today. Today, we will be exploring the current operational trends in the pharma industries. My name is Dr. S.K. Singh, and I have a PhD in this field. On this first slide, you see the title of our presentation. We'll be discussing the latest developments and shifts happening in the pharmaceutical sector. This will include new technologies, regulatory changes, and innovations shaping the industry. So, let's get started and dive into the world of pharma trends. Thank you for being here. Imagine a group of 5 monkeys placed inside a cage. Right in the center, there's a ladder with bananas sitting at the top. Now, what's interesting here is that this setup is often used in experiments to explore behavior, social dynamics, and learning. The key point is that the monkeys want the bananas, but there's a catch. When one monkey tries to climb the ladder, the others might react in unexpected ways. This simple scene actually reveals a lot about how animals, and even humans, interact in groups, especially when there's a shared goal involved. It ties into our overall theme of understanding behavior and influence within social settings. So, what this slide is highlighting is a fascinating and quite dramatic experiment involving monkeys and how they learn through social cues and consequences. Every time a monkey decided to go up the ladder, the scientists responded by soaking the rest of the monkeys with cold water. The key idea here is that the other monkeys quickly learned to associate the ladder with an unpleasant experience, even if they themselves were the ones getting soaked. This experiment shows us how behavior can be influenced not just by individual actions, but by the group's reactions and the consequences they observe. It's a powerful example of social learning and the ways in which fear or aversion can spread within a group. Connecting this to our overall theme, it really emphasizes how group dynamics and shared experiences shape behavior, sometimes in ways that aren't entirely logical or fair, but are driven by collective responses. It's a reminder that our actions are often influenced by the social environment around us. So, what this slide highlights is a recurring pattern that happens after a while. Every time a monkey manages to go up the ladder, the others react by beating up the one on the ladder. This might sound unusual at first, but it actually illustrates a deeper point about behavior and social dynamics. The key idea here is that the monkeys have learned to associate getting on the ladder with punishment, so they stop trying to climb. Over time, this creates a situation where even if the original reason for the punishment disappears, the behavior persists. It's a powerful example of how group behavior can be influenced by collective conditioning. This connects to our broader theme of how habits and social influences shape actions, often beyond our immediate awareness. After some time, you notice that no monkey dares to go up the ladder anymore, no matter how tempting it looks. This is a fascinating example of how behavior can change once a certain limit is reached. Even when the reward is still there, the fear or the learned consequence prevents action. It highlights an important point about boundaries and the power of collective experience. When enough individuals observe or experience a negative outcome, it can influence the entire group's behavior. This ties back to our overall theme, how perceptions and shared experiences shape decision-making and influence future actions. It reminds us that sometimes fear or caution can override even the strongest temptations, especially when the risk becomes clear to everyone. So, after several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never really understood why. It's interesting how behavior is learned through consequence, even without understanding the reason behind it. Then, the scientists decided to replace one of the monkeys in the group. The first thing this new monkey did was to go up the ladder, just like the others had done initially. But immediately, the rest of the monkeys jumped on him and beat him up too. This highlights how the group's behavior was enforced not by the original reason, but by the tradition or rule that had developed over time. It really shows how social conditioning can persist even when the original cause is lost, which ties back to how societal norms and behaviors are often maintained. So, in this part of the experiment, a second monkey was substituted into the situation, and surprisingly, the same behavior occurred. Interestingly, the first monkey, who was already part of the group, continued participating in the beating of the second monkey. Then, when a third monkey was introduced and replaced, the same pattern repeated itself. The beating continued. The fourth monkey was also substituted, and once again the behavior persisted. Finally, the fifth monkey was replaced as well. What's really striking here is that over time, no matter who was introduced or replaced, the group continued this pattern of behavior. This highlights a key concept. The group's actions became ingrained, almost as if the reasons behind the behavior were no longer clear or relevant. This ties into the broader theme of the presentation, which is about understanding how social behaviors and norms can persist even when the original reasons for them are lost or forgotten. It shows how group dynamics can sustain certain behaviors, often without conscious awareness or understanding of their origins. So, what was left behind was a group of 5 monkeys who, interestingly enough, had never been subjected to a cold shower. Despite that, they still continued to beat up any other monkey that tried to climb the ladder. This highlights how behaviors and social norms can persist even without the original reasons behind them. It really ties into the overall theme of how group dynamics and learned behaviors can become ingrained, often independent of their initial causes. It's a powerful reminder of how tradition and peer pressure can sustain certain actions long after their original context has disappeared. Imagine if we could actually ask those monkeys why they keep beating up anyone trying to climb the ladder. What do you think they'd say? I bet the answer would be something like, "I don't know, that's how things are done around here." It's a pretty powerful image, isn't it? It highlights how often we fall into routines or mindsets without really questioning them. Does this sound familiar to you? Sometimes, we get so caught up in the way things have always been that we accept it as normal. And that's exactly what can hold us back from growth and change. This slide reminds us to reflect on those ingrained behaviors and challenge the status quo, especially if we want to innovate or improve. It's about recognizing those unconscious patterns that keep us from moving forward. For further support, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help with any questions or additional information you might need. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. We really appreciate your interest and engagement. Remember, we're just a contact away if you need anything moving forward. Thanks again, and have a great day.